All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's John Palomeni. I'm the immediate past president of the U.S. Society for Ecological Economics. Today we have a special guest, Claudio Passalía, and he's an environmental engineer from the Faculty of Engineering and Water Sciences at the National University of the Litoral, Santa Fe, Argentina. He's got a PhD in chemical technology, and since 2008, he's been teaching undergraduate and graduate courses and regularly teaches classes such as atmospheric pollution, global environmental cycles, environmental and ecological economics, as well as sustainable energy. He's currently an associate researcher at CONICET and an associate professor at FICH. He is also a director of environmental engineering program at FICH and is an expert in competency-based training and engineering programs. He's a member of the academic committee on the environment of AUGM and the former regional co-director of the Ibero-American Journal of Ecological Economics. Since 2017, he's participated in the board of directors of ASAUEE, the regional chapter of ICE. He was the academic secretary of FICH, and from 2026 to 2030, he will be in charge of the Secretariat of Science, Innovation, and Postgraduate Studies. He's got some excellent research that I stumbled across and I thought was quite interesting, and I thought we would be beneficial for everyone to hear what he has to say. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claudio, and thank you very much for presenting today.
Well, thank you, John, for your invitation and for your presentation. I am a little bit nervous because of English is not my mother language. I hope you can follow my presentation, and I hope you find it of interest. So the title of my presentation is in this slide, and the first thing I would like to say is that it's a presentation based on a scientific paper that we wrote with my colleague and friend Guillermo Peinado, also from Argentina and former president of the regional chapter of the International Society of Ecological Economics. So it's I would like to thank him also. And just to start, I would like to say a few things about me and my affiliations that John has already shared with all of you. So perhaps rather than expertise, these research topics are of interest for me, and my background is in something more related to technological aspects of environmental engineering, such as photocatalysis, indoor air pollution control, and such. But in the last decade, let's say, I drifted more to economics, energy-related things, and more a social perspective of environmental issues. I would like to present my location. This is the country of Argentina in the context of the American continent, in the southern hemisphere. And in this country, I am located in the city of Santa Fe, capital of the province of the same name. It is marked with a red dot in the map on my left, on your left also. And this is a side of the university city, let's say our campus. And perhaps that's my office over there where I'm located right now. So having said that, I would like to introduce the motivation for the paper that we wrote. And I as a student, I took the course of environmental economics here at the university. I really liked it, and later I became separated from the topic. But once the former professor, which is was retired and passed on a few years ago, invited me to make his team because he was alone. I became more related to ecological and environmental economic topics. So at the moment, I realized that there were differences among environmental and ecological economics, but there were many other approaches from different disciplines and sciences that address the environmental problems, such as economics, sociology, etc. Many of them were relating economics with environmental issues in particular. So it was kind of confusing, not for me perhaps, but also I have this issue, and I would like to ask myself what are the differences among these schools? So what distinguishes them? And the landscape was of many adjectivated, I don't know how to say it, I'm making a direct translation from Spanish, different types of economics, and many of them related to the environment. So the questions that we had was, what are their differences, the similarities, are they independent of each other? So this is the main let's say starting point for our research. But our hypothesis was that ecological economics was on one side of the confrontation, and environmental economics and many others, such as the ones that you perhaps have read in the previous slides, bioeconomy, circular economy, were on the same side of the confrontation, because it was a working hypothesis. So we wanted to differentiate or make comparisons among them and try to prove if ecological economics was indeed a different school from the others. And our specific objectives were to address how did these schools evolve in time, but we focused only since 2000 from up to here, only 2 decades, 20 years, and evaluate specifically from what researchers in these areas were saying about themselves. Our methodology was to consider as primary information the publications, scientific publication, specifically the ones that we could extract from the database Scopus, which was one of the most relevant search engines for us in our country, perhaps in the world. There are others, of course, but we chose because we had institutional access at the moment, not right now, but at the time when we were performing this research, we used that database, and we also used the Enneagram viewer from Google, and we tried to consider only the original articles, no reviews and no comments or letters to the editor, so only original articles. And we took as the representative words that every author or team of authors, the one who signed a scientific paper, choose the keywords to make of course, a categorization, and with selected keys, try to describe the whole content or intentions, or perhaps affiliations concerning their school of thought. That was our main field where to search this information to see if these currents were related or not. And the period of analysis was the 2 decades starting in this millennium. And we performed a quantitative and qualitative analysis, but let me say at this point that we know that this is kind of an exploratory analysis. We did not make an in-depth analysis of the contents of these scientific publications, these productions. So to summarize our research purpose and methodology, we took the scientific publication to try to differentiate ecological economics to the other four schools of environmental economical approaches. And we think, as we use the metadata of the peer-reviewed articles and we did not take a look at their content, it's a meta-analysis where we took as the primary information and the most relevant information, the keywords the authors choose to represent themselves. So the scope is to focus on the theoretical foundations, but only considering these keywords and identify conceptual patterns among them. This is a brief timeline that perhaps is not so relevant to the audience, because I believe that most of you are familiar with the story or the evolution of the environmental thought concerning the economical activities. But as I mentioned before, since the 2000s, we know that there is a diversification and there are plenty of schools that emerge, and the question was, are they different? Are they distinct to each other? So to show you our first results, we took the Enneagram Viewer, which is a free tool available from Google company. And we tried to find, okay, what since the second half of the 20th century, what was the evolution? How many times are these concepts, these schools, as a specific text, and with these enneagrams are strings of words that you can search, and in this case there were only two words, but you can say you can find for strings of n number of words. And we took this exploration in both languages. You know, Spanish is our main language here in Argentina and in Latin America. So what we find is that there is, since the 70s, at the global perspective, supremacy of environmental economics in books. This is the strings of words that are found in books, published books, and there is a tipping point in the 90s where ecological economics starts to rise, and it even surpasses environmental economics when you look in English concepts. If you take a look at a Spanish number of appearance of these engrams, it's kind of surprising that Economía Ecológica, which is ecological economics, of course, is during the 30 years always more frequent to find in books than Economía Ambiental, which is environmental economics, of course. But in both languages, you can see that since the 2010, there is more developing areas and the approaches that are rising, many of them in a steep way. Let's say circular economy, if you consider the last 5 or 10 years, it also surpasses the classical ones, which are the ones that appear earlier, environmental and ecological economics. So it shows the dynamics of these approaches. So it gave us an idea that they were evolving, perhaps, and it was also to notice that since the beginning of this century, environmental economics find its peak, and it was declining. So another question that or hypothesis that we would wanted to check was, is this decline in environmental economics explained by the rise of the others? And perhaps it's mutating and considering another name, but is part of the same thing? This is our idea that we wanted to check. Let's say if we were able to. So when we process the number of Scopus original reviews articles, we find these trends. And the figure to the right is the annual number of publications for each approach. Always environmental economics is has the higher number of papers, but in 2020, the number of papers published with in the context of circular economy has equals the number of environmental economics papers. So it's a rise that is very, very noticeable. So the acceleration of the number of publications for circular economy was surprising. If you take a look at the cumulative number of original scientific publications for each approach, of course, because of the tradition and because it also started earlier, still environmental economics is the one that is more mentioned, and the majority of the papers are in the environmental economics area. So also showing the dynamics, but just as I showed you in books, this is the trend for original publications, which was our main primary data to consider. What we did next was to sort the number of appearances of the keywords in each of their schools. So we built our own database, which consisted of 5 tables, one for each school or approach, one for environmental economics, ecological economics, bioeconomy, circular economy, and green economy. And we sorted them as concerning the number of times that this particular keyword was used by the authors to represent its production. So we sorted them as seen in example for table 1 of our paper, which corresponds for ecological economics. We obtained 5 tables such as this one, but with the 35 most frequent keywords for each approach. We ended with 35 because we started searching the 40 most frequent keywords, which were considered either a word alone of a pair of words, such as sustainable development. And we only made minor depuration of this data following practical criteria. This, let's say, keyword counts, such as article or priority journal, which were mentioned among the 40 most frequent keywords, were excluded from our count because they do not represent neither of the approaches we were addressing. Also, keywords whose only difference was singular or plural were combined. So we ended with the 35 most frequent keywords for each approach. And having obtained those 5 vectors, let's say, for count number of keywords for each approach, this is the analysis that we started to do concerning where do they have a combination of words, which amount of keywords were exclusive to that approach. And we obtained this kind of flower of combinations. And we find that among the 5 schools, there were 7 common keywords that were shared across all 5 approaches. Also, if you can take a look at these numbers, which are the most external parts of this flower, these are the numbers that correspond to groups, a quantity of keywords that are exclusive from this school and do not belong or share anything with the others. So I'm gonna perform an in-depth analysis of these kind of intersections, but this is the way it looks if you print the common words in all 5 approaches, or the specific words of each approach. So this is just to show you, but the details of each approach are coming next. As you can see in the center of the flower, the sustainability seems to be the universal connector, because the keyword sustainability, sustainable development, and economics serve as the primary unifying concept, and many times it ranks among the top 3 keywords for each school. So they seem to be scientific approaches or currents that deal with sustainability or work in the context of sustainability. The thing we try to do is, okay, with these 7 words that are common to all 5, we try to say how common are between them and how high are them ranked between each of the approaches. So we took the internal frequency of appearance of the common keywords, which is this value, and let's say this one. It means that economics appears in 10% of the papers that address ecological economics as one of the topics, and only 3% of the circular economy papers use the keyword climate change. So the internal frequency was compared among them, and we obtained this parameter, which is the inverse coefficient of variation, corresponding to the mean value over the standard deviation of this internal frequency. And we can say that sustainability, economics, and sustainable development are of high relevance for all 5 schools, and they are not different from one to the other. One of the things to notice is that environmental economics appears as the 7th most frequent common keyword, and it's also one of the schools that we are addressing. So we can say that many of the scientific, the researchers that try to define themselves in a school or addressing a topic related to bioeconomy or circular economy or ecological economics, they seem very relevant to include the word environmental economics as a keyword, which doesn't happen in the other way. Neither of the other schools appear in the others, except for environmental economics. Sustainability, we believe that is a plastic concept in which all approaches are placed seamlessly, and one can say that the objectives of their investigations deal with sustainability and try to resolve things concerning sustainability issues. So focusing on these parts of the flower that correspond to specific keywords that appear and differentiate them from the other 4 of them, we start with ecological economics. We find keywords such as biodiversity, ecological economics, of course, ecological footprint, ecology, land use change, and conservation, which is very relevant it distinguishes from the other schools. And the main conclusions, this is a qualitative conclusion, is that ecological economics, always considering these 35 most frequent keywords and comparing with the other schools, ecological economics emphasizes on ecosystem structure, conservation, and biodiversity. Also, it focuses on conservation management and sustainable use of natural capital. And because of the high-ranked keywords, land use and land use change, we believe that it also focuses on the changes in land use and their ecological impacts over time because of the primary activities of the economy. Environmental economics has only 5 or 6 specific keywords that were not found in the other approaches. And what we can extract from these specific keywords and the others that may have shared an intersection with the others is that economics is a market-based solutions and tries to provide solutions which involves transactions, tradings, and with a high specific focus on greenhouse gases and carbon to mitigate climate change, of course. So it focuses on carbon dioxide emissions, taxes as a way to make the externalities, make them internalized and try to compensate with the money some of the environmental impacts, and it tries to resolve within the framework of market and trade relations. Bioeconomy is a very strong school here in southern America and in other parts of the world. You know, we have plenty of land and production, extraction of primary activities and agriculture and many others such as forestry and crops that we export, etc. So bioeconomy was of interest for us. What we find is that bioeconomy has a focus on the technological orientation and try to make profit of what biological organisms or ecosystems can do for us. So it's mainly focused on primary activities of the economy, mediated perhaps by photosynthesis or fuels. And there are many times that the keywords represent words associated with energy-related topics. Let's say biogas, biofuels, and biorefineries, refining. So it has a very strong technological orientation, and it kind of focus on trying to make profit and accelerate what biological agents can provide for the economy. Let's follow with circular economy. Of course, it tries to close the material loops and try to avoid wastes. And it's focused on dealing with the end part of the linear economy and tries to provide solutions, also technological solutions, to waste. In particular, there are many words associated with waste treatment, waste disposal, waste materials, but also appears some technological aspects related, many of them with bioeconomy, let's say anaerobic digestion and others as such, but it's related with supply chains and economics in general. So this is the main focus. It has a strong technological and end of pipe treatment of, even if the words recycle and recovery appear. And this is the main thing that we find. Also related to schools, of thought and engineering concepts that are not new, such as industrial ecology and so on. I hope you can, as I speak, you can take a better look and read what the slide said, because my English perhaps not so good, but I try to put a lot of words to simplify and summarize what I am trying to say. Finally, the concept of green economy is focused on investment and innovation, in particular in renewable energy. And this is the topic. And many times, of course, as the school is called green economy, we find green something in the keywords: green economy, green employments, green growth, green jobs, and so on. So it's focused on innovation and investment, in particular in renewable energy, which makes a close link to bioeconomy, of course, and efficiency. So it has a technological and economical strong accent. So this is our main description of the schools based on this frequency of appearance and considering the times that we find keywords that are not found in the other schools. Another thing that we were trying to do, because some words, some keywords that we expected to find in high rank in the papers were not found specifically. And when we teach courses of ecological economics, we associate and we have a preconcept or our own definition of what is ecological economics, and we took a look specifically of these selected concepts in the keywords. In particular, the ones related to justice, environmental justice, and political ecology. So we specifically took a search for each of these selected concepts, and we make a comparison of how many times are they mentioned or used as keywords in ecological economics or in environmental economics. What we find, or what we present here, is the ratio of relative appearances of these concepts, and the higher ratio means the topic is more linked to ecological economics. It's more times appears in ecological economics compared to the times it appears in environmental economics. So we can say, or we can see, that ecological distribution conflicts related to environmental justice are 10 times, almost 10 times more frequent to find in ecological economics journals rather than in environmental economics journals. Also, concepts of bioindicators, biophysical indicators of sustainability, such as the footprints, water footprint, and so are found more frequently. And ecological depth, which is a very strong concept of political ecology, and many others that we selected. Again, these were topics that we tried to find what were their ratio of appearances, and to our surprise, let's say, decoupling, which is the concept trying to separate the evolution of the GDP with material and energy and environmental footprints, is typically more times mentioned as a keyword in environmental economics rather than in ecological economic papers. And there are some of them, let's say, optimal efficiency territory that are pretty close to one, so they are not specific of each of the schools. Having said that, I can show you which were our distinctive features of ecological economics, but these findings, I have to say that these findings require further evidence to be considered robust or solid, because our research was limited to the keywords and analysis of the keywords that we specifically searched. We think that ecological economics is more related to political ecology and concepts such as social metabolism or ecological distribution conflicts and environmental justice. These findings, of course, as I said, need further evidence, but these are things, or these are disciplines that we do not find related to the other schools that we addressed here, the other environmental economic related approaches. Also, we try to elaborate an idea, which means yet to prove also that environmental economics try to extend the categories and the tools of the economy to solve environmental problems. So it's kind of a economization rather than a solution per se. And on the other way, the ecological economics try to include in the analysis of economics the concepts that always are not considered. You know, one of the main things or starting lectures here is, okay, ecological economics thinks that economy is a system within a larger system that is the biosphere, the planet. So it's limited to the flow of materials and energy in either direction to the economy or from the economy to the environmental, the natural capital. And the economics always forget that this limitation. So it tried to extend logical market logic to monetize and try to evaluate and put a price to say this is the way that we can introduce this solution for this problem. The ecological economics, we were expecting to find more aspects concerning strong sustainability indicators and ecological footprint, or even the growth of the economy. But the structure of thought to solve or to think about the environmental problems, which from my perspective, ecological economics consider more like social environmental problems, it's clear. It's pretty clear. Our study has limitations, of course. So there are many, and we only take a look at a single database, which is what was Scopus, sorry. And perhaps there are other databases that can provide more information or add information to this analysis that was only restricted to the keywords. It's a very restraining method. So nowadays that we have artificial intelligence and we have plenty of capabilities that can read and extract information from thousands of documents, perhaps we can try to make an in-depth analysis, but considering the contents of these scientific publications. But the starting point of choosing keywords was the hypothesis that authors choose their keywords. So they represent themselves. So it was relevant for us what the keywords, the number and which keywords are selected by them. Also, we explored in this selection of period of time and database, the English is the language that all of the documents are consulted. So is this a limitation? Non-Anglophone scholarship was outside of our scope, but perhaps even if we know that English is the main language for scientific communication worldwide, perhaps we can find another conclusions. And of course, we can find many more contributions, and if we can deal with participatory approaches on forums or even interviews with teachers and the community, students, etc. So a conclusion is that ecological economics seems to be a clear, distinct paradigm from the other four, which has theoretical foundations and a critical approach to the things that mainstream economics tries to continue. And this is the main conclusion, because the other four approaches share the categories of conventional economics and do not have a critical approach to economic growth, let's say. So, including the ecological concepts, let's say energy, material, energy, the structure of the ecosystems, one of the things that didn't appear in these 35 most common keywords is that one of the cornerstones of ecological economics, that is the role of thermodynamic laws in this in the evolution of the processes on the surface of the earth, and of course of the economy, which is restricted by the limits of our planet, and those laws are valid, of course, for the economy. So we didn't find anything related to the concept of entropy and so. But let's say that the main focus of economy, which is growth of the GDP, is only discussed by ecological economics and none of the other approaches. So this is one of my final slides. And of course, the final remarks I would like to state clearly: the currents of ecological economics as a transdisciplinary and critical space of conventional economics, and environmental economics, on the other side, as a branch of that mainstream or conventional economics, could be considered two sufficiently differentiated schools or currents or approaches in these environmental economics issues. To us, circular economy, green economy, and bioeconomy do not differ in their instruments, their tools, and their foundations, theoretical or conceptual foundations, from what is environmental economics. They only focus on specific aspects rather at the end of pipe, or which is the main vehicle for make the economy growth more rapidly, bio things or green things, which is the probably for us is the more vague concept. Green economy, it appeared a few years ago, but everything can be green, and there also appeared the blue economy and, I don't know, orange economy, but it doesn't have a concept for itself. It means everything you can do to minimize effects or contamination or innovate in renewable energy. Perhaps it's green. Can't say it is green. So this is my final slide. These are two views of our beautiful city, Santa Fe. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was able to transmit anything with my poor language, English language. And if there are questions, I would try to answer them.
Thank you, Claudio. That was excellent. Very interesting. And your English is fine. Don't worry about that at all. It was very easy to understand.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions or comments? I know somebody asked for a copy of the paper. I found it while you were speaking. I put it in the chat. And
Yeah, thanks, of course.
and
It
if
is
anybody
available.
has any questions, just raise your hand and we'll let you ask your questions. So I'll start off with one. So it was interesting that the circular economy papers were really um, they shot up quite a bit.
Rising abruptly, yes.
And I also noticed on the bottom that there's starting to be a spike in bioeconomy. And it's interesting to me because I think the circular economy was a big push in the European Union, and I think that might be the result for the spike. And now they're switching kind of to a lot of stuff in bioeconomy, and you're seeing that same. Is that what you're thinking happened, or you think maybe something else?
I guess it could be an explanation, but I believe it's kind of a there are concepts that acquire the state of I don't know how to say the fashion, and they are everywhere. The green economy started as a concept. It was the conference of Rio plus 20, in the conference of the UN for environment, and it was let's say something too vague, and they said, okay, we can make a greener economy if we destinate 2% of the global GDP to innovate and invest in renewable energy. Okay, but they didn't say the 2% of which country, and the 2% of a country can be a lot of money if they are suffering from poverty, and so I guess that the thing that you're saying can be an explanation, and it's not confronted with our idea that the decline in environmental economics per se is explained by the rise of the other. So it's another name for the same thing, or a specific topic of the same thing.
Okay. Uh, there's two questions. Arturo, go ahead and ask your question.
Gracias, Claudio. Thank you, Claudio. Best regards from Mexico.
Gracias, Arturo.
I have a question. Considering, for instance, the work by Herman Daly, obviously, on the three different characteristics for an economy within the boundaries of the world. He talked about the scale of the economy, the justice or social equity, and efficiency. And appears to me that the environmental economics is quite focused on efficiency and markets. So from that perspective, could we consider, according to your work, environmental economics as a subset of within the ecological economics? Considering that,
I had a trouble with your audio. I didn't catch your question 100%.
let me write it down, and if someone has another question, you can read it.
Yes, please.
Yep.
While he's writing the question, Tatiana.
Okay.
Yeah, hello. I'm sorry
Hello.
that my camera is not working, but yeah, so I hope you can hear me. I'm wondering a little bit about the keywords, because I saw that in a bioeconomy, for example, you have also a bioeconomy as a keyword, and for example, also bioenergy, and also Germany, which is a little bit strange in this case. Yeah, so maybe you can explain it a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Tatiana. We find that many times among the keywords, the authors were declaring perhaps the geographical context of their application of their study. So many times it appears China, Germany, or even if you take a look at one of the slides of the table that I showed you as an example of how we ranked the keywords, United States was the 15th more frequent keyword for ecological economics. So scientific tried to define the geographical context of their studies, and we did not exclude these keywords, but it's kind of a very interesting site to continue the research, because it may show in which countries are these schools rising or gaining momentum. I don't know exactly the explanation of why China or Germany is in the 5th place of bioeconomy, or Germany, but presumably because there are scientifics that are dealing with limitations or political situations. Let's say in Germany, because of the shutting down of the nuclear power plants, they are trying at all costs to produce energy from other sources. So perhaps bioeconomy is a way that they are trying to promote to cope with this shortage of originally the Russian gas and the shutting down of nuclear power plants. I don't know, speculation.
Yeah, nobody knows for sure. No, I understand. Yeah, but probably it could be interesting if you clear the data. Yeah, so and exclude, for example, location.
If I clear,
Yeah, so
sorry.
yeah, if you clear the data, probably it will be another result for sure. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, but in any case, thank you very much. It was very interesting.
No, thank you for the attention and your question.
Alejandro has a question.
Okay.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Claudio. It's amazing how much you can do with metadata. It's just incredible. That's great. That's great. Look, Claudio, I have two questions. One about the positive side, positive science, if you like, of what you did, and another one about the normative dimension of what you did. Concerning the positive dimension, it would be great to see, and I would like to hear perhaps your bets on it. This same study carried out in 10 years and see if somehow the environmental crisis it produces, there is a sign that environmental crisis may produce a convergence between all these currents of thought. Wouldn't it be ideal to have a sort of world consensus about the challenges we are facing, meaning that ecological economics as a label would be useless? That would be fantastic. And the normative aspects that I would like just to bring to your attention is, or to the attention of the audience, is concerns a commentary that Herman Daly published in the journal Ecological Economics a little time before he passed. He said the following. Let me read it out loud. I recognize, Daly wrote, the danger that using the concepts of the other side, he meant environmental economics, entails, but the opposite danger of rejecting useful concepts just because the opposition uses them should also be avoided, he wrote. I wonder how the profession will take your contribution, your paper. And of course, it wouldn't be your fault if in the end they take the dogmatic perspective, the dogmatic way. But well, I have the impression that this warning or advice from Herman Daly at the very end of his career would be interesting to keep in mind. The floor is yours. Thank you, Claudio.
Thank you, Alejandro, for your comments. I agree that we do not have to reject or not take into account useful tools. Either they come from environmental economics. We know that market-based solution and can work, and we know that prices are relevant information for decision making. So if one takes the broader picture, that is perhaps one of such instruments with the consideration of the people that are involved or affected by some decision or distribution conflicts or the access to the land and so on, perhaps I guess that they would merge and would be taken into account. I agree that dogmatic positions they do not contribute to the main objective of these schools that they are supposed to work with, which is sustainability. Perhaps we can sustain the world, but we need economy. But do we need it to constantly grow? Okay, no, yes, where, up to which point? So it's I thank you for bringing the comment of daily, and also concerning the possibility of continuing or working let's say monitoring how this methodology can show different results over the years. It was one of our questions also, because one of the hypotheses we had was perhaps ecological economics once was a thing that is no longer the same, and how to prove that, and is it sufficiently different from environmental economics? Is it different now? Okay, I tried to show you that conclusion, but was it more different, more critical? Was it more separated to environmental concepts? Perhaps, and we should make one contribution also there. So, lots of work to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Arturo has his question. Can we consider somehow that environmental economics as a subset or partly within ecological economics, as it focuses on the efficiency of the economy and markets mechanisms? This is one of the three areas mentioned by Daly in the scale of the economy: efficiency and allocation, and social justice, social equity networks.
Well, it's related to my previous comment. I believe that nowadays in ecological economics it's difficult to dissociate or counter, I don't know, confront with environmental economics, because it uses tools of environmental economics, and the fact that ecological economics papers use terms such as efficiency and optimization and valuation, because there are many papers that are in ecological economics journals that address valuation of environmental services, ecological services, and ecosystems. So they do not discuss the thing, but the only thing that I would say, I'm not sure about the answer, is that I in my mind it is clear that environmental economics is a subset of economics, plain economics. You know, it's only economics addressing environmental end-of-pipe problems, perhaps. I don't know the other way around. You say environmental economics as partly within ecological economics. For me, ecological economics, it's supposed to have a more critical approach to the main commandments of growth, and all variables should go up, you know, the GDP and so on. It doesn't matter how. The conclusion of if one can be a subset of the other, for me, I'm not able to say that.
Deb, did you have a question? No.
Well, lots of things here in the chat.
Really, I just wanted to say though that ecological economics is a transdisciplinary approach to solving complex issues, and I think that, you know, trying to put something in one place and another place, that for me defeats the purpose. And so it's transdisciplinary, and that's what I like about it, that it looks across the disciplines, because there are a lot of things for me in the very beginning when I was with John taking this in grad school doing this, I didn't see a lot of inclusiveness. And so now as we're moving towards where we're going now, I'm seeing that inclusivity that needs to happen if we're really going to talk about, for me, the triple bottom line, which is people, planet, profit. So that for me is the way I look at it. That's the approach. So I just wanted to make a statement.
You're saying?
Yeah, I thank you, Deborah, for your comments. I agree that ecological economics should be done in a transdisciplinary way. It's not evident from the keywords, at least in the methodology that we explored. Perhaps, again, we can find more things, or if we continue our research. But I don't know. Let's say transdisciplinary approach, transdisciplinary study ranks 50th in the ecological economics paper. Is it relevant? I don't know, but we expected to find more keywords concerning their strict difference from environmental economics than what we found.
And then there's a question comment by Surjit. It may not be the right platform, but this question boggled his mind. How do you think this large chunk of academic work would impact in any extent on the current geopolitical restlessness that is causing serious damage to land, water, air, and loss of biodiversity? Will there be any native future generation to speak of sustainability? And does anyone dare to economize these ecological losses?
Wow, difficult question. I don't know. There are still people denying the changes over the surface of the planet in the last centuries, or as long as the power of economic forces can cope and adapt to different situations, and it poses a relevant question of which people are able to cope with these changes that are rapid and mainly affecting them. And I don't know, perhaps it's that there will be a future for the planet Earth and for a certain civilization of human evolved species. I don't know, but of course, if we consider how we know the Earth and the ecosystems, the biosphere was 200 or 300 years ago, we can easily compute our ecological debt. This debt is explained in the deforestation, the changes in the biodiversity, sea level rise, ice caps melting. So can we live in this world? The answer, of course, is yes, but can we continue in this trend? I don't know the answer. Should we avoid things that are irreversible? My answer would be yes, but the trends indicate that it's not going to happen if we don't change main structure of how the humanity does things.
And we'll do one last question with Dennis.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I come from Denmark in Europe, so what happens in the EU is, of course, sort of on my attention span. But I don't think you mentioned sort of planetary boundaries and absolute sustainability. And what we a lot talk about nowadays here is the link between this environmental aspects and social aspects. So, for example, well-being economics and donut economics. Did you consider how much these different environmental economy terms were linking up to that type of keywords?
Thank you, Dennis, for your question. I was also expecting to find more keywords such as planetary boundaries and things like that, but it was not the result. So I don't know. I believe that the main characteristics that differentiate ecological economics from environmental economics is the social content and the introduction of physical considerations that came from science, the physics, energy laws, and such. So we did not find any relationship to that, and also for the planetary limits that you mentioned, or the economy of the donut, because we know that there are certain amount of alteration of the natural ecosystem that every species does, and there is a lower limit for maintaining our civilization. Okay, where do we put this limit? In the lower part, and the upper part should be defined by scientific or technician experts. If you say, as a technician, that a sea level rise of 7 meters because of ice melting and the thermal expansion of the oceans is okay, I wouldn't be in this line, but the decisions cannot be made by someone only by considering valuation, market-based solution. The introduction of these limits, which are social and anthropological and psychological utterly, need to be considered, and also the biophysical limits. I totally agree with you. I don't know if they would be considered in the next years, or since we closed our window of interest into 2020. I guess not, but I don't know.
All right. So with that, we will end our seminar today. Really want to thank you, Claudio, for excellent presentation. Very interesting, thought-provoking, and thank you so much for your time today to do this. And we really look forward to seeing more of your work.
Thank you, John, for your invitation. Thank you for all the questions and the interest. I hope we can continue with this line of research, and have a nice weekend for all of you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.